It really started in the latter part of 2012 when there wasn't much happening in the diamond space. It was quite silent. Companies that had been in it were either solely focused on a flagship project and trying to get it into production, or they were hitting a wall financially and unable to advance their projects, and properties that still had good technical merit and exploration potential were coming free and available for staking. And at that time, primarily through conversations with a key advisor to our company, Ira Thomas, we talked about the space in Canada and the opportunities that were there. And so we worked to try and pull together the three components that you need to be successful, particularly right now, and tying in projects and properties that we identified that were prospective, that had a very clear path to evaluate them, like a question that needed to get answered, and very clear on how to do that. Tying that with a group of professionals that have been involved in the diamond space in Canada and around the world in both exploration and development and mining and successful experience in those aspects. So in essence, the ex-Aber Resources team, and Aber, of course, was involved in the discovery of the Diavik.
Penny stock went to $50, so we talked about it.
Very successful in the early 90s, and then bringing in solid financial backing, and we were able to do that through some of our primary insiders, and then also through a significant investment from the Lundin Family Trust.
Right, so one of the big key things to evaluating any mining company is people, and the people involved with North Arrow. You just mentioned the Aber team. One of the biggest discoveries in the diamond boom of the 90s in Canada was Aber's Diavik diamond discovery, and the CEO of Aber was Gren Thomas, who's your chairman, and his daughter Ira was working on the field program when they made the first discovery, I believe, and she's an advisor to your company.
Yes, yeah.
So you have the Canada's first family of diamonds. This is their company. So that's the crux of the company now. What have you guys done since then, and what's the program going forward?
Sure. Yeah, well, we've pulled in 7 properties into the company. The two of them have been our primary focus, and the number one by a long shot is our Qilalugaq project up out of Repulse Bay.
So that's BHP discovery.
Yeah, and what's really what's great about this project is it was a discovery made by BHP. They did all the early stage high risk exploration work. They did it very well. Discovered 8 kimberlites in the area, and as luck would have it, the largest of the kimberlites also happened to be the highest grade, has the most diamonds in it per ton of rock, and it's the closest to the community. It's only
so why did they drop
8
it
kilometers. Then? Well, I think originally they made the discovery in the early 2000s, brought Stornoway Diamond Corporation in as a partner in the mid 2000s, and I think that really kind of dovetailed with the start of their exit from the diamond space, which culminated with their sale of the Acadie diamond, of their interest in the Acadie diamond mine to Dominion Diamonds not too long ago. So I think that was more of a corporate decision on their part. Obviously can't speak for them directly, but that's what our take was. And then kind of similarly, Stornoway acquired the 100% interest in the project in the mid 2000s, and it was right around the same time that they acquired the Renard Diamond Project, which of course they've been looking to put into production and recently raised the required capital to build the diamond mine at Renard, and that's been their focus. And so Qilalugaq, although there was a resource sitting there right on the coast, it's never had a champion. It's never really had a company putting it front and center. Being discovered by a major company means there was no discovery news release, no media attention around it, and we really identified it as a project that had $25 million spent on it to that point, had a resource. It's a relatively big kimberlite for the Canadian high Arctic. It's over 12 hectares in size. As a comparison, say the Diavik or the Lac de Gras area kimberlites are typically in the order of 1 hectare in size. So it's big. It has a good grade. It averages in the neighborhood of a ½ carat per ton. But of course, with diamonds, there's that third component that you need to know. It's not just enough to have a tonnage and a grade. You need to figure out what the diamond value is, and that's the question that needs to get answered there.
So the work done on Qilalugaq since you got it bring us up to speed.
Yeah, it was focused on our agreement and our ability to earn the interest in the project from Stornoway. It was pretty simple. We will earn an 80% interest by collecting a bulk sample from the kimberlite, recovering the diamonds from that sample, and getting the resultant diamond parcel valued. We did that this year. We collected just over 1,500 tons of kimberlite, and a program that really went very well. We took advantage of being close to town. We didn't need an exploration camp, which is a big cost in the Arctic. We set ourselves up in the community of Repulse Bay, had some very good local hires who helped us with the program, slung out a little mini excavator to the site because the kimberlite is right at surface, excavated the kimberlite into 1-ton mega bags and slung them to our laydown in the town, and then shipped them south on the annual sea lift that comes up to service the community every fall. And that sample shipment is complete. It's at the lab. It's going through a DMS processing, which is the typical route you would take for a big kimberlite sample, where you put the sample through a dense media separation plant, get a resultant heavy mineral concentrate, which we're then upgrading at Stornoway's X-ray flow sort facility in North Vancouver, and then that's where the diamond sorting is happening as well.
So where does that stand now?
It's happening as we speak. It's I guess we're in the neighborhood of a couple months into the processing right now, and we expect it'll carry on for another 3 months or so.
So what happens? How are the results released?
Well, it's a single sample. The intent here and the really critical piece of information that's going to come from it is going to be the ultimate diamond valuation. So in terms of disclosure of the results, obviously we'll be able to report what the diamond content of the sample is, or the sample grade, ideally accompanied by some nice photographs of what the diamonds look like, and then that would be followed perhaps a month later by a formal valuation that will get completed over in Antwerp.
Help people who aren't maybe professional diamond speculators, and because there aren't very many of those even, what are good results? What color us?
Yeah, I mean, diamonds are tough. They certainly are tough to figure out. I mean, the way the result would come out is there's going to be, we'll get a valuation of that parcel, of the physical parcel, whatever the diamonds are, we'll get. And then there's a modeling exercise that's done, because typically with a parcel, and particularly this one, we're expecting in the neighborhood of 500 carats. And that's enough to give us an indication of value. But certainly won't be the definitive answer in terms of moving into a mining scenario, or feasibility for that matter. But we'll get a physical value of the parcel, and then we'll get a model valuation, and that comes in the form of a price per carat for the parcel. And that modeling takes into account as the diamonds become coarser in size. Sometimes in a sample you might be missing some stones that should be there, or you might have an overrepresentation. You might get really lucky and get one beautiful stone that will skew your present valuation higher. It can go both ways. And then that model price will have a bracket on it. And there'll be a low valuation, and then what might be a higher estimate of what the value
So what are, give us a sense of what is expected? What are diamond mines in Canada?
We know enough from the current parcel of diamonds from the work that's been done, and it's only about 60 carats of diamonds that we have from the work that BHP did and the work that Stornoway did, and these look like typical Canadian goods. And so what that means is operating Canadian mines kind of range from about $100 per carat up to north of $500 per carat in valuation, and we'd expect to be in that range, but it's a big range, and that has a big impact on how robust a project might be. But certainly most of the valuations in Canada would range between sort of $100 and $200 a carat, and that would be something that we're looking for. Other thing that we've been talking to, though, is in those 60 carats of diamonds recovered by BHP and Stornoway from the Q1 to 4 kimberlite, there is a population of yellow diamonds there, and the diamond tears that have looked at those yellows have indicated that although they're very small and they don't have good crystal forms, so just sort of that natural diamond shape that we all picture, they look to be what they would call fully saturated yellows, which just means that the hue of that yellow coloration is very continuous throughout the stones, and it's not patchy in any way. And they look at that as a positive sign that there's a chance that if these diamonds carry on into the larger sizes that we'd expect to get with this bigger sample, then they'd be considered true yellow fancy diamonds, and that could add sort of a sweetener to the overall valuation.
Any other last word on the bulk sample diamond valuation?
I think the key things to keep in mind is it could be truly transformational for the company. If we get a high valuation, then it immediately becomes a development track project with, I think, a pretty clear path for further evaluation. We'd then, obviously, as I mentioned, we'd enter into completing a preliminary economic assessment, but the next field work would be more drilling, upgrade the resource, to measure an indicated status, drill some deeper holes, drill some glory holes to 600 meters, as is fairly typical to do for diamond deposits in Canada, and see if is there kimberlite still down there, and see what's the full-on upside of this thing, and then following that up pretty quickly with a larger bulk sample to get a bigger parcel of diamonds, to get a more robust evaluation. You might need in the neighborhood of 2,000 or 3,000 carats to get a sort of a feasibility level valuation. And the project could be on its way, and it could happen very fast.
So last word, sum up what you think you can accomplish in 2015.
Well, 2015, yeah, I mean, we've used it a number of times, but it could be transformational. And we'll be finishing the processing of the bulk sample, getting that diamond valuation in sort of the spring time frame of the year. If it's positive, we're rolling straight into a PEA, which we could accomplish in sort of a 2 to 3 month time frame. It shouldn't take very long. And then doing more drilling, upgrading that resource, really charging ahead with the evaluation of the Q1 to 4 kimberlite. And then at the same time, we could be sitting on more brand new discoveries in Saskatchewan. There certainly are kimberlites there to be drilled and discovered, and it's a matter of whether we're successful doing that. But it's really lining up well, and then we have another handful of projects that we like. We like them all. That's why we have them, and they all have a very clear path to evaluating them, and we'll continue to do that as well. But those are the 2 projects that we're really going to be focused on in the first part of the year.